I'll tell you who everybody loves. They love Robert Thomson, Dr. Gridlock. That's how you know him. He's joining us now, and it's a great day to have you, Dr. Gridlock, because we got questions. I got so many questions about this story that emerged yesterday that's coming from the D.C. Department of Transportation. They're doing some brainstorming about how they might solve the problem of congestion in the District of Columbia. And they've come up with something called a downtown congestion pricing cordon. Well, let's just cut through it. It would be a commuter tax, wouldn't it?
Well, it depends on how you define commuter tax, guys. A true commuter tax is something imposed on your income. This is would be a charge, strictly for drivers coming into a certain portion of the District of Columbia. Mm-hmm. In other words, many D.C. residents also would pay this charge if it were imposed, and Metro riders would not pay it. And there are plenty of Metro riders coming in from Maryland and Virginia.
Yeah, and so the idea here is in the downtown, what I like to call the monumental core of the city, sort of, where all of the governmental buildings are, where many people have to come to work. If you drive a car into there, then you would be charged some kind of tax or some kind of toll.
You'd most likely pay a monumental charge to drive in the monumental district.
There you go. Well, how much do you think we'd be talking about here? Because they're talking about it being like, a metro fare, but, some people pay $10-12 a day to ride the metro.
Oh, yes. Well, what people compare this idea to is the London congestion zone, where the charge is the equivalent of $17.25 a day.
But they have said that it's going to be the same as a metro fare, which right now during peak hours, if you're just taking one train in on the metro, it's $2.70 in.
Well, I just got a tweet from a guy who says he pays $14 for a round trip on Metro every day.
I'm not sure how that works, but I could be wrong about that. Can I ask you this, Dr. Gridlock? This is the federal city. This is the nation's capital, and people need to come here sometimes to address their representative, to address Congress. That shouldn't cost them money. How are they going to get around that?
It costs them money now, though, doesn't it, guys? They're going to get in here somehow. They might fly in.
Well, it doesn't have to.
Unless they use a gyrocopter, I'm not sure how they're going to avoid paying.
Well, no. If I live in Virginia and I have business with the U.S. government, I can drive in and take care of my business with the U.S. government. I shouldn't have to pay a fee just for the pleasure of visiting the nation's capital.
Well, Congress would probably take you up on that argument. So I think what we're talking about here is very unlikely to happen in the form that we're talking about it. I say that because there's plenty of other ways you can charge people to move about in their cars. For example, hot lanes do exactly that.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you're sort of warm to this idea, Dr. Gridlock, or are you trying to stay neutral on it?
It depends on exactly what form of this you were talking about, and it depends hugely on defining what it is that you're trying to do in the first place. Are you just trying to raise money to patch up the streets? Are you trying to find some reasonable way to control congestion, as for example they do with the hot lanes? Are you trying to find some way to build new stuff that'll make it easier for people to get around? There's plenty of unanswered questions on this idea.
It seems to me that if the leadership in the District of Columbia really wanted to promote metro ridership and really discourage people from driving into town, then, okay, sure, go ahead and impose this toll, but then make metro ridership free. Let people ride on the trains for free. That would increase ridership, wouldn't it?
It would, but as you guys know, there's a limit to Metro's carrying capacity. Probably what you'd use this money for is to expand Metro's capacity. In other words, you'd use it to buy more train cars, or you'd use it to fund the construction of a new tunnel through downtown.
So wait a minute. So if the toll is meant to discourage people from driving in, and so suddenly and it works and people stop driving in, right now Metro doesn't really have the capacity to handle a big influx of new passengers.
It's about to run out of capacity. We're a few years away from that. That's exactly why they're putting so much emphasis now on buying those new rail cars.
And yet, I'm sorry, I just need to close this circle. If the toll is meant, if, as you said, if the toll could then pay for the expansion of Metro, but in fact, if people don't drive in, then there's no money from the toll to accommodate the influx of passengers that would be overloading Metro.
Don't think of this toll as something that might happen in the next couple of years. Right. I have a feeling that your grandchildren, perhaps their offspring, will be waiting to see a toll like this.
Really? And in fact, I mean, you're a great eminence in this town, and I mean that only in a respectful way. And I've been around here since 1986, and I have heard some variation of this theme that we're going to charge people to drive into the city, at least a dozen times.
Oh, yes, comes up periodically. And as you can see, it hasn't gone anywhere yet. What we're talking about right now is an element of the district's long-range transportation plan. Mm-hmm. And as one D.C. official put it to me, the long-range plan is like the Bible. It's subject to some interpretation over the years.
Can I change topics very quickly? Sure. Purple Line. We hear that the governor of Maryland is very close to making a decision about the Purple Line. Are you picking up anything on that?
I think that Governor Hogan is going to keep the Purple Line and cut down on its cost. There's a certain point when you're no longer talking about a transit project versus a road project. What you're talking about is infrastructure, and everybody loves infrastructure. The business community in Maryland is very much behind the Purple Line, and the governor is very much pro-business. I think he'll keep the Purple Line.
But what about the other aspect of the Purple Line, not just the cost that people are upset about, but also the fact that it is going to intrude on private property ownership, especially in neighborhoods where the real estate values are pretty high?
There's not a big transportation project I have ever heard of that did not intrude on private property. It's just what it takes to build something in a congested metropolis.
All right. Well, Robert Thomson, he's Dr. Gridlock from the Washington Post. We'll continue to watch this, the congestion pricing cordon in the central employment area. We'll watch that very closely, and thank you for joining us here. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.